Have you ever wondered why some of the most brilliant, hard-working people fail to rise to the top? Why, despite their intelligence, skills, and relentless ambition, they hit a glass ceiling they just can't break through? The truth is, it's not because they're not talented enough. In fact, that's the very problem. They've violated one of the most critical rules of power, a rule that, if broken, can destroy you without warning. That rule is, never outshine the master. The first law of power from Robert Greene's timeless book, The 48 Laws of Power. You might be thinking, what does that even mean? Why shouldn't I show my full potential? Well, in today's video, we're going to break down exactly why flaunting your talents can be your biggest mistake, how this law works, and most importantly, how you can use it to quietly rise to the top without making deadly enemies along the way. But first, ask yourself, are you unknowingly sabotaging your own success right now? Stick around, and I'll show you why being too good can make you a target. Let's dive in. The first law of power, never outshine the master, may sound simple, but it's deceptively profound. In any hierarchy, whether it's your workplace, a social circle, or even your family, there's always someone above you. They might be a boss, a mentor, or a leader. Here's the dangerous part. If you make them feel inferior, if you shine too brightly in their presence, you risk triggering their worst fear, the fear of being replaced. Think about it. People in positions of power are often deeply insecure. They've fought hard to climb to the top, and their ego is built around staying there. If you, with all your brilliance and potential, suddenly start to outshine them, even unintentionally, they won't admire you. They'll resent you. Your talent will become a threat, and that's a threat they won't tolerate. So, what happens when you ignore this law? You become a target. You get shut out of opportunities. Suddenly, people who once supported you no longer return your calls. Your ideas are dismissed, and slowly but surely, you're pushed to the margins. The terrifying thing is, you may not even realize it's happening until it's too late. Now, you might be thinking, I'm just trying to do my best. Why should I have to downplay my talents? And that's a fair question. But here's the hard truth. Power isn't about fairness. It's about control, influence, and most importantly, perception. The game of power isn't won by simply being the best. It's won by making the right moves at the right time and knowing when to dim your light so others can shine. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this law. Louis XIV, the Sun King, was one of the most powerful monarchs in French history. He demanded complete control over his court and his country. One man, Nicolas Fouquet, was his finance minister, a brilliant, ambitious man with a taste for luxury and extravagance. Fouquet thought he could impress the king by throwing an extravagant party at his estate, showing off his wealth and power. But it backfired. Fouquet's display of grandeur only made Louis XIV feel overshadowed, threatened. The king couldn't tolerate being outdone by his own servant. So, what did he do? He had Fouquet arrested, stripped of his wealth, and imprisoned for life. This is what happens when you outshine the master. Instead of earning favor, you spark envy. Instead of admiration, you ignite fear. And fear makes people in power dangerous. The lesson here is simple. Never make those above you feel inferior. Keep their ego intact, or they will come for you. Now, before you dismiss this as something that only happens in history books or royal courts, ask yourself, how often does this happen in the real world today? How many times have you seen someone who was clearly capable get passed over for a promotion simply because their boss felt threatened? It happens all the time, in offices, industries, and even in friendships. The truth is, this dynamic is as old as time itself, and it's not going away. To truly understand why this law is so powerful, we need to dive into the psychology behind it. At the core of this law is the ego, something that drives every single one of us. And when it comes to people in power, their ego is often the foundation of their status. When you outshine them, you're not just showing off your skills, you're challenging the very thing that keeps them in power, their sense of superiority. This creates fear, a fear that they could lose their position, their authority, their control. And fear, when combined with power, leads to retaliation. But here's the subtle part. It's not always conscious. Sometimes those in power won't even realize why they're sidelining you. They'll justify it in other ways. They're not a team player. They don't follow the rules. They're just not the right fit. But make no mistake, at the heart of it, they feel threatened. And that threat comes from the fact that you outshined them. So what's the solution? Do you just pretend to be mediocre? Do you stop striving for greatness? Absolutely not. The key here is to play the long game. You can still be brilliant, still climb the ladder of success, but you need to do it strategically. Let's talk about how. The first step in mastering this law is simple. Flatter your master. No, this doesn't mean being fake or sycophantic. It means giving credit where credit is due. If your boss, your mentor, or your superior feels validated and appreciated, they're less likely to see you as a threat. Next, hide your strengths when necessary. This doesn't mean dumbing yourself down. It means knowing when to shine and when to step back. For example, if you're in a meeting with your boss, let them take the spotlight. Support their ideas, and make them feel like they're the genius in the room. By doing this, you make them feel secure, and they'll see you as an ally, not a rival. Be subtle in your excellence. Deliver results, but don't flaunt them. Let your successes reflect well on your master. Remember, when they succeed, you succeed. And finally, support their goals. Align yourself with their ambitions. Help them achieve their objectives, and they'll see you as indispensable, not someone to be feared. But what happens if you ignore this law? What happens if you can't resist the temptation to show off? The consequences are harsh. You'll find yourself isolated, excluded, and eventually replaced. The higher you climb, the more brutal the fall when those in power feel threatened by you. Now, are there exceptions to this law? Yes, but they are rare and come with their own risks. Sometimes, showing your full potential is necessary, like when your master is weak or when they need your expertise to succeed. In these cases, your brilliance is a lifeline, not a threat. But tread carefully. Even in these situations, make sure you give your master the credit for success. Always let them feel like they're in control. In the end, mastering the art of power isn't about being the best at everything. It's about playing the game strategically. And the first rule of that game is simple. Never outshine the master. Remember, power isn't always taken by force. It's earned through subtlety, patience, and understanding the delicate balance of human ego. So next time you're in a position where your skills could outshine someone above you, pause, think, and ask yourself, is it really worth the risk? Play the long game, protect your rise to power, and never make an enemy of those who can crush you. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this lesson, hit the like button and subscribe for more insights from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Stay sharp, stay strategic, and remember, in the game of power, subtlety is strength.